everyone. I'm Monica Malpass, a broadcast journalist and proud member of the board of Chamber Orchestra of New York. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Salvatore Di Vittorio, who's the music conductor, director, and composer with the Chamber Orchestra, as well as Giacomo Susani, a guitarist and composer, who will be our featured soloist with a piece that he composed in our May concert. Welcome to both of you gentlemen. Such a pleasure to have you talking with us today. Giacomo, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about the work that you composed. It's a composition for the entire orchestra as well as for the guitar, and you will be the featured performer at Carnegie Hall coming up on May 30th. We'll talk a little more about the concert itself, but tell me about this piece. What's special about it and what you had in mind when you created it?
Absolutely. Well, this is a fantasia for a solo guitarist, as you mentioned, and the full forces of the Chamber Orchestra of New York, and it's a sort of arrangement, if you want, of an earlier work of mine, which is a complete concerto for solo guitar and chamber orchestra, which is in 3 movements. And this piece in its original form was one of the very first pieces that I've composed for guitar and orchestra, and actually one of the very first I have written in general. And it was very much inspired by my heritage as a musician from Italy, although at the time I was already living in the UK, in London, where I've spent almost 10 years studying and then teaching and performing. And so I guess to answer your question about what's special about it is this link to a lot of Italian traditional in terms of classical music, and composers especially because of the style reminds, in my opinion, a bit of the style of composers in between the end of the 19th century, very beginning of the 20th century aesthetics from Italy, and Respighi in particular, if I have to mention someone. And perhaps we were discussing about it with Maestro Di Vittorio the other day, Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco as well.
Yes, you're speaking with us from Padua, Italy, and in fact, you mentioned Respighi. You're the 2022 Respighi Prize winner, which is incredible. Congratulations for such a young composer and performer. So that's wonderful. We're excited to have you coming up in New York City shortly. Tell me a little bit more. You did have this piece debut in London, which is exciting, and then you wrote a separate fantasy, which is what the New York Chamber Orchestra will be performing. What's the difference in the two?
Well, first of all, the length and the amount of movements, because the original work that was premiered in London, the Duke's Hall of the Royal Academy of Music, was in 3 movements, similar in terms of style, but very contrasting in terms of character. And the version that I've written to be premiered at the New York concert is an elaboration of the material of the first movement only, and an extension of the musical ideas, especially towards the end. So to make it an independent piece made essentially by the thematic material of the first movement. And there is one difference in the orchestration as well, because there is just 1 French horn part instead of 2.
Okay. What a thrill to be at this stage in your career, which is very early days, and to have pieces that are being performed by major orchestras in both London and New York. Not many young composers and performers can say that. So I know you must be thrilled, and your family must just be delighted too. Tell me a little more about their reaction to all of this.
Well, I do feel very privileged, and I'm very thankful. And well, yeah, my family is as excited as I am, so much that they're all coming to New York to see the concert.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a nice coincidence because my mother's birthday will be during those days, so to celebrate it as well while we are there. So it will be a nice family trip.
The ultimate birthday gift for your mom. That's very wonderful. Let's talk a little bit now to Salvatore. Nice to speak to you as well. Tell me what this piece means for the orchestra and what you're excited about for the performance.
We're very excited about it. Giacomo and I have spoken about this quite a bit. I mean, I'm very fond of the composition. When he won, typically what happens is when the winner, is selected, in this case, the composition winner, they usually are winning based on 1 submitted work. But we're honoring with the award, it's really honoring the composer, not exactly the composition necessarily. And what happened, I was very taken by the piece because I hear the Respighi connections because it's obviously he submitted it for a Respighi Prize competition. But you hear the continuity, the connections to the history of the guitar concerto and pieces like Castelnuovo Tedesco and others. So it's a really beautiful piece of music. I'm very happy with this. And I think Giacomo had a surprise and unexpected opportunity to have a premiere of the same work in London. So we spoke about it, and we always try to help as much as we can their careers. So I suggested, well, you're the winner. You could easily submit a slight variation of the same essential work. And this way you have both premieres. We don't lose either, because they both need to be, in a sense, world premieres when this is happening.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a different scenario. You're getting a world premiere of a composition, and then you're having let's say a London premiere of it afterwards. That's different, or a New York premiere, or the U.S. premiere. But we wanted to give Giacomo the full, world premiere opportunity. So we found a way to make it work, and it ended up writing two wonderful pieces of music that now can both be played. And I'm very happy to be part of it with the orchestra.
The Chamber Orchestra is a lovely group that does promote extraordinary young talent that's on the rise. So you've seen a lot of talented people. Tell me what excites you about Giacomo as a guitarist in particular, and since he will be performing the guitar portion.
Well, what makes this really different and special is he's got both categories going here. He won as a composer, but he could have easily won as a guitarist. Obviously, you can't win two categories at once, but I recall that he was finalist, and we're not allowed to choose. Otherwise, he could have possibly had two wins, but we can't do that. But this is special because he's not only getting a premiere at Carnegie Hall of his young work, but he's also the soloist for the work. And I think it's the first time we've ever had that. I'm sure it is. So that makes it very, very unique. And I hope it inspires him to keep writing more of this music that he's writing, which we've had conversations about it already. But also, I hope it inspires him to do more of the same, in the sense that he can write not just works, but guitar and orchestra type of works, which is not that common in the industry, actually. We don't have that many pieces of quality being written these days, especially for solo instruments, especially for the guitar. I could be a little bit off of that, but Giacomo, is that about right? Does that sound about right? Not too many guitar concertos lately?
Certainly. I mean, the guitar is in a way on the rise in terms of interest from composers, but it's definitely an instrument that we all feel as guitarists needs more and more attention and more quality works attracted towards it. So absolutely. I hope that also this concert can be of inspirations for others to approach the guitar in this sense. I have to say that in recent years I've been working more and more as a composer, and because I am a guitarist, of course, starting from the instrument and working on new commissions. And actually, speaking of this, I just finished a new guitar concerto, this time for a 10-string guitar and orchestra, which will be premiered in the US as well at the end of the year. Not with myself composing this time, but definitely something that I'm doing and I really enjoy doing, and I will keep doing for a long time.
I'm sorry, did you say it's your work, or you're playing someone else's work?
It's my work. It
is your work. Okay. So you're not the soloist.
It will be exactly premiered by someone else performing. Yeah.
By the way, the guitar is a difficult instrument. It was actually my first instrument, but I immediately switched to piano for composition reasons. But I can tell you, because of that experience, it's not an easy instrument. So, and I think there's a lot of fear around it, knowing how to write. It's sort of like the piano, but it's got different issues. So, the classical guitar. So it's a really incredible instrument, I think, to have featured altogether. Yeah.
And Salvatore, tell me a little bit more about the upcoming season starting in the fall? What are some new exciting pieces that you'll be featuring for the orchestra, and what else do you have exciting up your sleeve?
Well, it actually stems from this concert on May 30th at Carnegie Hall's Wow Hall. Besides Giacomo's work, we have Respighi's Trittico Botticelliano. We have my orchestration of Debussy's Clair de Lune, which you're either very familiar with it, or if you're a film buff, you know that in the recent Ocean's 11 series films, it's plastered all over those three films, and many other films. And I say that also because we've been doing a lot of film music lately, so it gets us to think about film. But also Ravel's Le Tombe de Couperin is on there. So there's 4 works, and not that this is entirely new material or a new landscape, but the programming does sort of signal the direction for next year, which is I'm trying to do 2 things more regularly. One is works that are bigger in terms of chamber orchestra, but just a healthier chamber orchestra, fuller chamber orchestra. And the other being that for next season, longer works generally, much longer works. We typically, because of the repertoire and the halls that we perform in, a lot of our pieces, a lot of our repertoire is smaller and shorter. The durations are shorter. It just works out that way because of what's available. Right. That's why often I end up having reorchestrations of things, publishing reorchestrations of certain pieces that are just too big sometimes for us to handle. So, for example, next year, a good example would be one of our concerts, our next May concert, 2025. I can say that there will be 2 works, only 2 works, because they are full, but they are long, very long.
Lengthy. Okay.
One longer than the other. The first is Richard Wagner's Siegfried Idyll, which is about 20 minutes. That's not too long, but we're coupling it with a full chamber orchestra version of Gustav Mahler's Symphony No. 4.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is about 55 minutes of music or something.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's the switch. We're kind of going in that direction. So instead of 3 to 5 works per concert, we're now leading to 2 to 3, mostly 3. So not that we haven't done this before, but we're looking to do it more regularly. And we're looking to do that together with the recent initiative that I proposed and we started doing a couple of seasons back, which is mixing classical music, or I should say film music, with classical music. Typically in concerts, in orchestra concerts, you get either classical, period, and then you'll get film maybe either with the film behind you in a film production concert,
right?
Or the most orchestras typically do is they'll maybe have a pop concert where you're mixing film with like Broadway songs and that sort of thing, right?
Right.
Musicals. But you don't really get in orchestra in our world, you don't really get a regularity of classical works of the repertoire with iconic film scores. And that's what I've been doing very recently. And we're trying to make it a regular presence every season. So, for example, this season coming up, we're going to be doing things like, I believe on the program is John Barry's James Bond Suite, for one.
Nice.
And then another good example is John Williams' Schindler's List.
Okay, great.
Things like that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to mention to people listening that you can get tickets. They are now on sale for the concert upcoming at Carnegie Hall Thursday, May 30th at 7:30 p.m. We would love it if you join us, and you'd be delighted to hear not only Giacomo Susani on guitar, but his work that has been composed for the orchestra and all the other pieces that Salvatore Di Vittorio just mentioned. It's going to be an amazing evening. We would be delighted if you join all of us there. So thank you to both of you, gentlemen. We wish you continued success, and these are very exciting times for the chamber orchestra and for beautiful music in general. So best of luck.